Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. For years, we've comfortably assumed that technology just progresses smoothly. We kind of took it for granted that each new update or each shiny new gadget automatically made our digital lives safer, faster, and way more private. Well, looking at the landscape of late June 2026, that comfortable assumption has absolutely been shattered. Today, we're looking at a fundamentally altered tech ecosystem, where every massive advancement seems to bring a brand new, often terrifying vulnerability.
It's like we've traded in our old, cozy assumptions of unbreakable systems and guaranteed privacy for a really stark 2026 reality. We're talking weaponized AI, massive data breaches, and, get this, our own private chat logs being treated as actual courtroom evidence. The unbridled tech optimism of the past decade? Yeah, that's officially over.
To truly grasp the gravity of this new era, just look at this quote from Stanford digital rights expert Professor Emily Johnson. She's talking about a landmark case we'll be digging into shortly, and she literally calls it a watershed moment in digital rights. So our fundamental assumptions about digital privacy aren't just shifting in some abstract theory anymore. They're being aggressively tested in real courts right now.
So here is our roadmap for today. First up, the new digital uncertainty. Then, weaponized AI and mega breaches. Next, the tangible costs of AI, followed by the end of wild crypto, and finally, surviving the tech evolution.
Section 1. The new digital uncertainty.
The digital frontier has basically become a minefield overnight. 2026 is being completely defined by a complex, heavily regulated, and incredibly risky landscape. If we look at a deep dive into late June's reporting from Tekin Night, there are 6 major stories that all point to one giant macro trend. The old Silicon Valley mantra of move fast and break things has ended. Why? Because the things getting broken now are our security, our wallets, and our personal privacy. It is definitely time to pay close attention.
Section 2. Weaponized AI and mega breaches.
Okay, let's break down some of the jargon here, because this is absolutely crucial. What exactly is prompt injection? Basically, it's when an attacker hides malicious commands inside seemingly normal user inputs, completely tricking an AI system into doing things it absolutely shouldn't. CrowdStrike's 2026 Global Threat Report recently dropped a total bombshell on this. They revealed that natural language prompts are essentially the new malware. In fact, over 90 organizations were successfully compromised in 2025 using this exact method.
So how does this actually work? Attackers are systematically bypassing enterprise defenses using 3 distinct methods. First, there's direct injection, where the bad actor literally just types the malicious command straight into the prompt. Bold, right? Second, we have indirect injection, which is incredibly sneaky. The attacker hides the commands inside an external document or a web page that the AI is reading. And third, chain injection. This is where they use a long sequence of consecutive prompts to gradually wear down and bypass the AI's safety guardrails.
And the real-world financial stakes here are just staggering. Banking took the hardest hit at 35%, followed closely by crypto at 28%, then e-commerce and healthcare. And we aren't talking about small change either. The average financial damage per attack across these critical sectors is a massive $2.3 million. And here's the scariest part. Because these attacks look exactly like regular human inputs, the average time to even detect them is a painfully long 45 days.
Speaking of painful metrics, let's pivot sharply from cutting-edge AI vulnerabilities back to legacy systems. 14.2 million. That is the shocking number of email credentials exposed in the recent KDDI supply chain breach in Japan. To put that into perspective, that represents roughly 11% of Japan's entire population, all impacted in a single event. The KDDI attack is pretty much the textbook example of the cascading danger of supply chain vulnerabilities. The flaw wasn't even in KDDI's own code. It was actually in a third-party software called Atmail. Attackers breached the servers on May 15th and had 45 agonizing days of unrestricted access to just slowly extract data before anyone noticed. While financial data wasn't exposed, these emails and hash passwords are now prime ammunition for credential stuffing attacks. That's where hackers take those exposed passwords and try them across countless other websites. It's a real mess. Section 3. The tangible costs of AI. Let's move from abstract software threats to the very real economic tolls hitting us right now. Have you noticed your hardware getting way more expensive lately? Well, there's a reason for it. Tim Cook recently called the current memory market a 100-year flood.
We're literally living through what industry insiders are calling the Ramageddon crisis. Massive AI companies are building out data centers at such a frantic pace that they are devouring the entire global memory supply. I mean, think about this. A single AI data center needs as much memory as 100,000 laptops combined.
And Cook's warning translates directly to hard data. It shows exactly how this AI memory tax is hitting your wallet today. Apple was forced to introduce unprecedented mid-cycle price hikes. A MacBook Air jumped $200, a 14-inch MacBook Pro jumped $300. As these tech giants fiercely compete for DDR5 chips, the everyday consumer is just left footing the bill. Seriously, if you need a new computer, the hard advice right now is to buy it immediately because these prices are not coming down anytime soon. But the costs of AI aren't just financial, right? They're also deeply personal and potentially legal. Which leads us to a really profound question. Can AI conversations actually prove criminal intent? This brings us to a landmark true crime narrative that is unfolding right now. We're talking about the deadly Palisades wildfire arson case in California, where AI logs are being used as a prosecutor's tool for the very first time.
Inside the courtroom, the arguments are pretty striking. The prosecution went ahead and subpoenaed the defendant's ChatGPT logs. They highlighted requests to generate fire images, psychological questions about uncontrolled rage, class resentment rants against the wealthy residents of the Palisades, and super specific queries on how fire spreads quickly. The prosecution argues this shows a clear, undeniable pattern of intent. The defense, however, pushes back hard. They argue that asking an AI dark or weird questions doesn't equate to criminal action. I mean, people ask AI random things all the time. But regardless of the final verdict, the urgent new reality for every single user is this: your AI chats do not have legal confidentiality like a doctor or a lawyer. They can and absolutely will be subpoenaed.
Section 4. The End of Wild Crypto.
So, the Wild West era of crypto? Yeah, that is officially coming to a close over in Europe. Binance, which handles about 35% of global trading volume, was just expelled from the European Union. They failed to secure a license under the strict new MiCA regulatory framework. The regulators cited a bunch of reasons: deficiencies in Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering standards, a sheer lack of financial transparency, and a highly complex corporate structure that made it impossible to hold anyone accountable. It's a massive line drawn in the sand by regulators who are finally demanding maturity from the industry. And this regulatory crackdown is mirroring a massive shift in market sentiment. Negative $4 billion. That is the jaw-dropping amount of capital that flowed out of spot Bitcoin ETFs in June 2026. It marked their worst month on record and completely dragged Bitcoin down to $59,700. So where exactly is all that money going? We're witnessing a massive reallocation of institutional sentiment. Capital is fleeing the regulatory uncertainty and the wild volatility of crypto, and it's pouring directly into AI infrastructure. While the crypto market bleeds, AI giants like NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Google are hitting record highs. The narrative has totally shifted from crypto is the future to AI is the future, and it's fundamentally changing the global tech economy.
Section 5. Surviving the Tech Evolution.
So, after all that, how do we actually navigate this volatile new landscape? Well, here are your key takeaways to protect yourself and your investments. First, if you use AI in your business, you absolutely must treat it with a zero-trust architecture. Just assume inputs can be malicious. As an everyday user, assume no AI conversation is truly private and act accordingly. Prepare for some severe volatility in both hardware prices and the tech markets. You also need to adapt to a world of strict digital regulations, recognizing that the anything-goes era is completely over. But finally, don't lose hope. Watch for compliant innovation. Even amidst all this chaos, organizations like ETH Labs are building the next generation of compliant, useful tech infrastructure.
Which leaves us with one final, deeply important question to ponder. Are we learning fast enough to secure our systems and protect our privacy before the next attacker strikes? The paradigm has shattered, and the risks are definitely higher than ever, but so is the potential. It's really up to us to tread carefully and intelligently in this new digital era. Keep this question in mind the very next time you type a prompt, buy a device, or share your data online. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and stay secure out there.